So welcome back, everyone. And we have got Sarah Allan on from the Mindful Parent Club, which is a parenting and consultancy club to help everyone with parenting, children's mental health. So welcome, Sarah. Thank you for joining Nick and I, because it's going to be an exciting chat. Mm-hmm. We have covered things sometimes when Nick and I have been on the pod. We've spoke about our concerns of parenting. So it'll be nice to kind of talk to someone who's like a professional in it and, you know, how we can raise our kiddies the best we can in a world that's so dark right now. Mm-hmm. So do you want to introduce yourself to our audience? Would be great.
Oh, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, so I'm Sarah and I'm founder of Mindful Parent Club, and it's a coaching and education service that's supporting parents basically to navigate the challenges that come with parenting, especially now, like you say, in the modern day. Yeah. And it supports parents with a myriad of challenges. But my approach is very parent-centric, so it's focused on supporting the parent first. It's not like I'm telling you how to parent or, you know, going to be giving you strategies. It's very parent-centric. So it's first focused on the parent developing their own foundation of like emotional regulation, self-awareness, understanding their stress response, and then being able to understand their child better and attune to the child. So it's not like I'm giving the parents a real like script or strategies or this is the right way to parent. It's not about that. It's just my focus is really on empowering parents now with the knowledge and tools and support that they need, like you say, to raise children in the modern day. And I think there's been so much change in the science and the way we parent children. I think a lot of parents, like, they want to parent differently now, but they don't know how to. I think there's been a real shift, and it's like we don't parent the same as maybe we were parented when we were younger. We know we don't really want to parent like that, but it's like, how do we do that? And that's what I've noticed. So,
especially with like, I don't know, like, especially my era, I was in the era of the pub kids. So like you'd be in your pram and the kids in the pub till about 10 o'clock at night, and it was just normal. Whereas now I think we're so aware of mental health on kiddies, and it's just, you can then now get a bit overconsumed being like, oh, am I doing this right? Have I said something that's going to be detrimental to me child and that now? Because it's everywhere, isn't it, about kind of the mental health effects on kiddies. And how is it that you kind of can balance the both, where you've got that kind of fun element of still being a mummy and then obviously awareness as well of that literally you're not being detrimental to the health, because it's just everything's very much around mental health right now.
Yeah, I think that's the concern and things, like you don't want to overwhelm parents with like feeling like they're not getting it right and they're not doing it right, because that's not going to be helpful either. And there's so much information as well now on the internet, and we're seeing it in really short snippets as well. So parents are like overloaded with information and they don't really know what to listen to. So that can be like, you know, a problem in itself. But it's empowering parents just with, you know, some more understanding of them of the children and some more tools. But there's, what I always say to my parents is, there's not like a right way to parent, and there's kids don't need you to be a perfect parent either. Like, you don't have to be perfect all the time. But there are ways that we can empower ourselves and reflect on how we're parenting, because like you say, children's mental health is a big thing at the moment. Like, the stats are 1 in 6 children in the UK are diagnosed with a mental health condition or difficulty. So that is the reflection of mental health of children. So we need to look at how we can support our children with that. And what the science shows is the strongest protective factor for a child's lifelong mental health and wellbeing is the quality of the parent-child relationship in the early years, so that their attachment. So we can't control. There's obviously a lot of other factors that are going into children's mental health being on the rise, which we can't really control. You know, obviously maybe screens and things that are happening. There's so many different factors it could be down to. It's not one linear reason. But what we can control is how we show up and how we can bolster that in the early years, that attachment and that quality of relationship, which is shown in science to be such a protective factor. So that's really why I'm really passionate about doing this work, because parents want to do the best for the children. They really do. And we've got so much more on our plates now. It's not like years ago we are parenting whilst we're working, or we've got digital distractions, there's our kids have screens, and there's a lot more pressure on us as well. So we've not just got that. That's why I feel like now more than ever, to kind of counteract that, the best we can do is empower ourselves. And it's actually really, really good that we live in an age that we are now able to access so much information and support, because we have a lot more access to it on the internet, but also a lot more understanding of child development as well, and new research. So I think, being able to support parents more with the, how can I support my child with the children's mental health, but not like feeling like you're doing this wrong, you need to do it better. It's a fine line between that. I think parents can get there's a stigma attached to parent support, because you feel like, well, if I need parent support, then I must be doing something wrong. With Mindful Parent Club, what my mission is to do is to normalise parents and support, and say it's not like you're failing. It's that it's like any area in our lives, we look at it as a positive to go and get a PT, or to get, to develop in our career and go and to higher education, or in business, get business coaches, mindset coaches now. That's seen as a real positive. But for some reason, still with parenting support, coaching, whatever, it's seen as like, oh, I must be doing something wrong, and that's just because there's a stigma attached to it. So I'm really trying to change the narrative of how parents and people see parenting support. It's just literally just being the best version that we can be for our kids, because it is shown that the parent-child relationship is the strongest predictor of how your child will be able to cope in later life in many different areas of life.
Well, I was reading another thing. Well, it was a reel of another psychologist, and our baby, well, he's 10 now, I still call him a baby.
Same, I call my son the baby.
But Cody will sleep in his own bed, but then he's so used to being in bed with myself or his dad that he will get up 1 o'clock in the morning and he'll come into bed with one of us, do you know what I mean? And the psychologist was saying that is still fine, because I thought, oh no, he needs to be starting to stay in his own bed now all the way through the night. And they were saying it's just a way of him self-regulating. And once the self-regulating in later life, he's going to be so much more at peace just because he was able to regulate and was allowed to come into the bedroom and regulate and just sleep next to us.
Yeah, no, definitely. My son still stays in bed with me as well. And it's a form of co-regulation, so they're next to you, that having that connection. It's like, I've seen things as well, it's like no other species are separated from the children and told that it's wrong to co-sleep. They keep the babies close to them, but for some reason we're being told that we need to get the kids in their own beds, as soon as possible. Now, some people do need that for their own space and their own mental health. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong.
But I mean, when you've got 4 kiddies, you can't have 4 kiddies in the bed.
Thought of them kids in bed with me. No, thank you. Maggie kicks you back. I don't need that in bed with me.
I'm the same.
You're saying that, Samuel, like that, thinking,
that's the thing as well. There's no so it's not like a cookie cutter approach. This is what works for one family won't work for another family, and that's what I'm really conscious of not doing, is saying this is the way to do it, this is the wrong way to do it. That's not what it is. It's just giving you more information so you can make more of an informed decision for yourself of what feels right for you. Because that's where when you give people, you don't want parents to feel shame or guilt or they're being blamed because they've got enough stuff on the plate. That's not what this is about. It is just here's the information. What would you like to do with that?
It's brilliant though, isn't it? Because I think what is it? It's up to the age of 7 or 8 is when they're most taking all the information. Is the detrimental ages. Because you do see a lot of kiddies bedwetting, for instance. Everyone will laugh. I probably stopped wetting the bed when I was about 8. I was quite late. Do you know what I mean? And it must have just been a regulation thing again. But you do see kiddies still. It's one of the proper, I don't know, what is it? The mind's not settling or something when it comes to bedwetting, or?
I think bedwetting's, it's not one reason that they might be bedwetting. There might be many different reasons. Some children it might be, a trauma response, or other children, it might just be their development, that they're not fully developed that to wake themselves up. You'd have to see the child to understand the background of why they might be bedwetting. But I think we look at children and see ages and stages of development and think, well, my child's not doing that yet, they should be doing that. But children all develop at different stages, and we've come to believe that they need to be at this stage of development or there's something wrong. And that much of what I see in my work as well, especially with like behaviours and things like that, when I my approach is basically understanding children's behaviours as communication, and as usually it's either they're a sign that there's an unmet need, or it's an age-appropriate behaviour, meaning like they haven't developed the skill yet. But that is, all children develop the skills, at different points. But obviously there's markers of what would be the developmental stage, but that doesn't mean that the children won't develop differently. So like the developmental stages of like brain development. So when you see different behaviours in children, sometimes that can be like a sign that they haven't developed a skill. Say like impulse control is a skill, is a executive functioning brain skill that children need to develop. Now sometimes you'll see behaviours in children and it's because they haven't developed that skill. So I say it's usually a sign of like lagging in skills. When you see children who have got like behavioural challenges, or they're the difficult child, they're the naughty one, they're the problem child in school, we see usually that as the sign that the child needs fixing, or the child's doing it intentionally, or the child knows what they're doing. My approach looks at it from a lens of behaviour is a sign of communication, and children do well if they can. And
what would be creating them for that outlet? Would that be they're not receiving the right attention, or they're not getting the nourishment, or like kind of the emotional support from a parent?
So again, I think that's like, it's not like one reason that there might be developmental delays. It might be neurological. It might be the environment that they're not being supported to develop them skills. But we can always support children to develop the skills. Like emotional regulation is a skill, and many of us haven't developed that skill properly because we were never supported to develop that skill of like how to manage our emotions in a healthy way. Many people are just usually told when we were children, probably told to suppress them, or made to feel like their emotions were wrong. So we've never actually managed to develop healthy coping skills with our emotions, if that answers your question.
Yeah, because I think what you tend to find, you see a child crying, look, I've probably done it myself, and you say, stop crying now, do you know what I mean? Rather than let it be released, and you then start to store it, don't you? And like kind of like suppress it down, and it comes out in later life.
Yeah, what that really is boiling down to is the parent's capacity to hold and witness the child crying. So it might be triggering them. They might not have been allowed to express like emotion like that when they were young and were told stop crying, so that could trigger that in them. Or they might not have the capacity in that moment to hold it as well, because they're holding so much more. So their response is to tell the child to stop crying. So it's that's why my work starts with the parents, because it all boils down to how they can hold space for the child and be able to witness the child's behaviour. Because what we do is we see children's behaviours through stories or through labels. So, if they're crying, we might see it through a story that, they're crying because they're being manipulative because they can't get their own way. They're just being difficult as usual. And then that's what makes us respond to the behaviour in that way, rather than seeing it as a child who hasn't yet developed the skill of managing the disappointment.
Because I was going to say that, because at like 7 and 8, children can't be that intelligent to know how to manipulate. Do you know what I mean? And I think that comes from a parent's point of view, saying they're being manipulated, they're being this, because obviously we know them skills as an adult. But can children at that age know them? Or it's just we're labelling them, and then they start to recognise, well, I'm doing this now, and then...
So the thing with that is, so the child's brain develops the executive functioning part of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain which is responsible for all the higher functioning skills like emotional regulation, impulse control, being able to understand reason and logic, planning, all of these different skills. So for a child to be able to be manipulative, they would have to be able to think how they could influence another person's experience or another person's perspective. That's a really higher functioning skill. And those skills, the prefrontal cortex, it does not start developing until around 6, that it starts to mature. So again, this is like children all develop at different stages.
Yeah.
And then parents will sometimes say, well, I don't believe that because she's dead intelligent, she knows what she's doing, she's done it before. So when she isn't like, you know, whatever behaviour they're talking about, when she isn't, she knows what she's doing. And what I always say is, well, you know, when you might have done something that was out of character, or you really know that was right or wasn't right and was wrong, what usually is the reason that you've done something? Like what would be the reason? It would be because you're being stressed, or you're being tired, or you're being pissed off, or something like that. So what happens is, a child's ability to use and access the part of the brain which has got all these higher functioning skills is still developing, but also when they are stressed. So when meaning stressed, they could be the hungry, they're upset, they're tired, they're seeking connection. That then diminishes their ability to access that. Basically, think about that part of their brain goes offline. I use this as it's like a visual, like called flipping your lid. So that part of the brain for all these skills goes offline, and they're just in their fight or flight. You probably heard of that. The survival part of the brain, their emotional part of the brain. So yes, they might have been able to do that another time when they were regulated, but the time that they probably haven't is probably because they've been dysregulated. So that's what parents tend to think, well, no, they know better. She shouldn't have done that. They know. But it's usually because the child's dysregulated. Yeah. That's another part of the work that I go into.
And how young can a child be affected from? So, you know, like obviously, like we were saying before, Cody stays in my bed still till like the age of 10. But you do get parents who, like, when they are first born, it's like 6 weeks into their own cot, or then it's like leave them to cry out for a bottle. I mean, every parenting skill is different. There's a lot of different kind of professionals that say all different things. Can children be affected from that young, from being left vulnerable? And
yeah, absolutely. When you say left vulnerable, in what sense?
So if they are crying out and you're leaving them to cry out, can that have detrimental effects? Or
so I wouldn't want to say, because there's different particular situations. But what I do know is that a child at that vulnerable age, what you said, like 0 to 7, is really, they are still really seeking connection from their caregiver, which is their source of safety, their source of survival, because that's the attachment figure. So if they are denied that literally means their nervous system this is danger, this is life or death to them. So that is if it's a continued, repeated experience that they're not getting their attachment needs met, they're not, when they're seeking connection, they're not getting it from that caregiver who's their attachment figure, that is shown that attachment can attachment ruptures in attachment really can impact a child. It's shown across the research as one of the most strongest influences over again a child's life outcomes is the quality, like I said before, the quality of the relationship, which is the attachment.
Yeah. And in terms of a child, who are they most attached to? Is it the mother gives certain kind of emotions, the father will bring different, or is it just a matter of how the child?
So a child can attach, usually it's the primary caregiver who's showing up most of the time, so usually it's the mother, but the child can attach to the father as well. And it's the child will still have an attachment to the father, but usually it's the strongest one is to the mum.
So yeah, Maggie is bad with Andrew.
Is she?
Yeah, like dad. And to be fair, it's not like he's there 1,000,000% at the time, because we both work and things, but to the point where some mornings when she comes in our bedroom after he'll bring her out of her room and she'll see me in bed and she'll say, I don't like mummy. And I think, oh, all right then. Yeah. But then, do you know what? I think because I've got 4 kids, I see a lot of different behaviours over. Yeah. Every single one of my kids have behaved very differently, even though I've tried to parent the same because it's me.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when Frankie and Lottie was a lot younger, I was in a different environment. A lot of change was going on there. So I can see that has had a bit of an impact on them now. So obviously Job and Maggie probably won't have the same effects because they was in a different environment. But I do see, because I've got 4 kids, that behaviours are so, like, they're varied, aren't they?
Yeah.
Even though you're giving the same, I feel like I've given my all in parenting to every single child of mine. But obviously at the time, I've always been a different person.
Yeah, because your age has been different, like your maturity and the parenting as
so
well.
my own
hasn't it?
experiences at the times of me having a baby or whatever, like with Maggie, as I've got older, I felt like I've had more patience.
Yeah.
Even though I've got a million one things to do, I felt like I've had more patience as I've got older than I did when I had Frankie when I was like 19.
Yeah.
But like now, tomorrow, I've actually got a meeting with one of my little girls' teachers about her behaviour, and I'm in my head, I'm like, why is she behaving like that? I don't understand what.
Yeah.
She's a good kid, but a school are sort of just saying she just seems a little bit untoward at the minute, not herself. Is there anything going on at home? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But then I do think that she's nearly 13, hormones, emotions, there's so much to add to it, isn't it? And then I start thinking, is it me? Am I not giving her the attention because I've got businesses that run and Maggie's only little, and I mean, I might find out a bit more tomorrow, but a lot of the time, so my sort of question is, for me, and anybody who's in my situation, I've got different age groups, obviously, of children. And although I do try to parent them all very equally, is there a certain way to navigate having an age group and trying to show them all the same without it looking like, you know, if that makes sense? Because Maggie does need a lot more, obviously. She's smaller. So then is that impacting my older kids?
So just to go, the first point you're making about you see so many different behaviours with all of them, it's because they all have different temperaments. Like children, obviously, they all come into this world with like different biomarkers and different temperaments. So that is why you see different behaviours. One child will respond differently to the same environment that another child would respond to. So parents often say that they were parented the same, and there's completely two different, you know, outcomes for their siblings. So just remembering that. And when you're seeing challenging behaviours in school and stuff, we always say behaviour is communication. So you've just said she's 13, which is the one of the spikes when you do start to see these more challenging behaviours or risky behaviours, or you know, the hormones. That is a normal stage in development to see this in the teen years, but it's often misunderstood and seen as they're just being cheeky, they're being rude, and when they're responded to with the typical like discipline, like if you speak to me like that, you're not getting this, or you know, why are you acting like that? And it's coming from hormones. That usually drives a wedge more. So in the simplest terms, when we see our kids acting out, the mindset is that, well, I can't reward this behaviour. They've got to know that this behaviour is wrong. So they need a consequence, or they need punishment, they need discipline, which children need to learn that certain behaviours are not appropriate. All emotions are okay. However, what we always miss first is the connection part. Children, if you're connected, fully connected to your child, they're going to be regulated. She'll still need co-regulation as well if she's at that age. And then that's when you can go in and you can start talking about a behaviour and correcting the behaviour. You might have heard the term connect before correct. But we get so worried that, I can't offer connection. I can't offer like empathy, or, you know, seem like I'm validating her experience when she's acting out. And just being curious and making her feel like she's understood, and you want to hear her and not just, you know, listening to the school and listening to the behaviours and saying, you know, why are you acting like that? You're a good kid, you shouldn't be doing that, you know better. Like I've just said, she probably does know better, but there will be a reason, and getting curious about that and having like, it's called collaborative problem solving, where you can sit down and you can empathise with her. You can say, you know, I can see that, you know, there's a lot. She just started school. She's
in year 7, so she started in September. But to me, how you speak there, I think that should be in schools,
That's
mate.
unbelievable. I've just learned so much just off that.
Yeah. But shouldn't teachers be taught that?
Yeah.
Honestly, so it's like...
Even if they're not a parent?
I think there's not enough training around that. I think we are becoming now more to understand behaviour from a developmental lens and seeing the behaviours through that lens, but it's this ingrained conditioning that we have and the way we see children through labels, and we see the child as the problem and they need to be fixed. I like to use the analogy as like, if a plant wasn't growing properly, we wouldn't start pulling and poking and prodding the plants and going like, sellotape it to the wall, like, let's fix it. We'd look at the environment. We'd look, is it getting enough sunlight, getting enough water, is the soil nutrient dense, like all of these things. Like a child is exactly the same. They will thrive in the right environment. So looking at what is going on, being curious for the child and seeing it as a problem, seeing the behaviours as a problem to be solved, like looking at it through that lens and seeing what support, how can I support my child now so they can do better, and seeing a child as they're always through like the most like positive interpretation you can give their behaviour, and seeing that kids do well if they can. Like they literally do, because again, it goes back to the attachment, and they want to stay connected to their caregivers. They don't want to push people away. So if they are, why are they doing that? And that's what a lot of the education system, discipline methods miss, is that like the rewards and the consequence thing, it misses. If children are usually the same children who are repeating the same things, and these rewards and consequences don't work, and then they end up getting pushed out the education system, they're then labelled the bad child. So then it's like the self-fulfilling prophecy. They end up, well, everyone thinks I'm bad, so I'm just going to be bad. It's literally that, because they're misunderstood. And it's like, how can we actually support them to do better? So going back to that collaborative problem-solving approach, it's by a doctor called Dr. Ross Green, and he talks about these, they called like the explosive kids and these really difficult children. How can you support them to do better, and seeing what are their behaviours? That usually it's because they've not got the skills to model that appropriate behaviour. So how can we help them? But also seeing it like it's not like a linear thing where you can have a conversation with them, then the next day you expect them to be perfect in behaviour. It's a process of understanding, right? How can I support you? And just it's shifting the mindset, the way we see children's behaviours. We just live in a society that we see children as these little human beings that should be able to perfectly function and never have a bad day. And if they are, then they're naughty, the little S or whatever.
Yeah,
just
it's true. Yeah.
Because
I think I shared something, and you kind of wrote back to me, and it was about, I think I said to you, didn't I? I said, oh my God, I just read this really good thing. And it was about when you're in your adult and you kind of something triggers you, and that trauma, you go back to the age of when you were triggered. So you don't act from, say like now, say if I flip over something and I've been triggered, quite often I'm not acting as a 40-year-old, I'm going back to when that trigger was. And I was fascinated by that.
So again, like I said, when we are triggered into our emotional brain, our fight or flight, we are not acting from all of the skills that we've already built. And many of us are, with the experiences that we've had in childhood, when we have a same experience that's similar to that experience that might have had in childhood and it's not being processed, it can trigger us back into that state, and we go into a reactive state. That's what a lot of parents end up doing, is they don't realise that children are our greatest mirrors. They mirror back all of the things that we actually need to work on and we need to heal, we need to look at. And it usually starts with looking at our own attachment stories and how, the relationships were with our parents. And it starts from there, because to be able to show up fully presently with your child, you need to have made sense of your own attachment story first.
It's absolutely fascinating, because it is when you are watching them go through their little lives, and sometimes you can't think, am I doing it right, aren't I? And I don't know, sometimes when he goes a little bit quiet, Coach, I go, is he all right? And then you want to step in and go, are you okay? But then sometimes it can probably be a bit overwhelming and you're trying to overparent them.
Yeah, and that's coming from another fear. It's when we're parenting from fear. Like, I've got to make sure that they're happy all the time. Like, our job is not to make sure our kids are happy all the time. It's to make sure that they're safe. Happy and safe are different. So making sure that, like, they are, they're safe, they've got the needs met. But anything after that, when you're setting a boundary, that might not make them happy. Like, my son will know, like, screen time, that doesn't make him happy, but that keeps him safe. That's what I need to do. So my choice for him will not make him happy, or sometimes they might have to experience discomfort as well. And that's another thing with parents. Sometimes they find it difficult to witness the children be in discomfort or to be upset or to be painful, because that can be triggering for them. But it's because that, again, is children need us to have, like, firm boundaries as well, because there's you can verge on either too strict or too soft, and that both ends of the spectrum aren't great for a child's development. They need firm boundaries, but met with kindness and compassion. But again, it's like parents likely haven't experienced that. Well, I say that's a very, like, wash statement that everyone hasn't, but I'm just saying generally most people were raised in an authoritarian way with the harsh discipline. Do as you're told. I'll give you something to cry about. Stop crying. All those type of approaches to parenting. So when they want to show up differently, because we've got more understanding, more awareness now that, okay, that's probably not what's best for our children, we like, okay, I don't want a parent like that, but then what else do I do? Because so that's what I see parents show up like when they come to me, is like, I know I don't want a parent with, like, really harsh disciplines, but how else do I, like, parent then? So then they go too permissive, they go too soft. You do need to still have that boundaries, and they kind of equate, like, you heard, like, gentle parenting, like, that's like a term, and it's got like a lot of negative connotations to it because there's a misunderstanding of it. It's like the way it's being represented online many times is just like, oh, softly speaking to your child and, validating their emotions and pandering to every need that they have, and even if that's, they are not, like, really listening to you, and you're not implementing boundaries as you're supporting them, like, emotionally as well. So there's a lot of misunderstanding around that.
Bruce, I love that you said that, because then you get the term from the gentle parent, they're just spoiled kids. Now, do you think spoiled is something that exists, or is it the fact that the children haven't had the emotional support? Do you get what I mean? And, like, all kind of boundaries in place, because I don't believe kiddies want to grow up to be this spoiled brat. Yeah. So where's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely when they haven't had boundaries. They haven't had they get given everything they want, because they'll stamp and they'll cry, and they'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and then the parent won't hold the boundary. So the kid just learns that, okay, if I act this way, I get that. So that's their wiring then. Their pattern, okay, if I do this, this is what I get. So that's all they've learned. Yeah. That's what,
See, I'm a bit guilty of that myself. So I would say that occasionally my kids have been called spoiled brats, but through me.
Because you've given to them. I do it myself.
They don't scream and cry. I would just say, should we go to Trafford Centre? And when we're in Trafford Centre, if they want something, I buy it.
But I mean,
there's no. Do you know what I mean? Or if they'll send me something, can you order me that off Amazon? I'll just click link and buy it. But I sort of see. I mean, I could be completely wrong here. I always see that the people that say it are the people that can't afford to do that for their children, and I get it. I get it now, because I've sort of drew back. I've now got boundaries with that, because this was a couple of years ago.
But do you think that was coming? Because I've been victim of that as well. Do you think that was coming from before we were doing this work, it's come from our guilt? So because we wasn't there, because we were having to work, we were fulfilling the needs in that way?
Yeah, it's like you buy love then, don't you? Because, well, listen, I've got work, but there's 20 quid there. You go and do what you do with that. But I also think for me, a lot of it was from when I didn't have any money to do it, that when I thought, I'll make something of my life and I'll change it for my kids and whatnot. But then I was like, right, you can have it. Yeah. So then the term has been brought up a good few times. And when people say that now, I think they're not spoiled brats on their own. It's I've caused that.
Yeah.
And that, you know, through my parenting.
Yeah. Well, when they say spoiled brats, what are they based on? Just because you buy them things, or why are they calling them spoiled
Yeah, and
brats?
a lot of the time it's, like I say, I do think sometimes it's people who are envious or whatever that might come out with that type of a comment. And do you know what? They are irrelevant.
Yeah.
Things like that don't really have an impact on me, but I wouldn't like to think that I would create that on my kids, that my kids would feel like to the point where they'd be like, oh, well, I won't have that then.
Yeah.
Because of what someone might say.
And then they're scared to ask, and then they should be able to ask, shouldn't they? Because then they've not got that emotional connection to go, Mummy, can I have this? Can I have that?
And I know there's a million and other people, a lot of my friends I've had this conversation with, and they'll be like, yeah, that's something I've experienced or whatever. And I don't know, is that just the word spoilt brat just sounds worse than it really is?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
All right. So what I'd say first off, that's someone else's opinion. So you don't need to listen to that. That's not their business. How you raise your children and what you want to do, and it goes from how you feel like you buying them things. How's that land? And that's completely up to you. So boundaries. There's no right or wrong boundary. Our boundaries come from our values and what we value. So what might a parent might value, like, you know, we all eat together every evening because I value that family connection, even time. Another family might not value that. There's no right or wrong approach. So if you feel like your reasons you want to, you know, give your children lovely things and you don't feel like there's a problem with that, then that's your prerogative at the end of the day. You know, what I would say is if you are given these things in a place of connection, you know, that's maybe something to look at. But at the end of the day, it's for you to like reflect on how is me giving these presents impact them. If they're, you know, beginning to, you know, really just demand things all the time and won't take no for an answer and there are no things, then maybe that would be something to look at. I know they need to respect that this is not like they stamp their feet and they be really rude and they get what they want. That's a different type of thing than if you think, actually, I want to buy them this gift because, you know, it's parents give different types of amounts of, you know, pocket money and things like that, don't they? It's that's for you to decide, but it's to you to only look at like, what is the impact of me giving them? You know, is this just like, it's actually, that's what I want to give them for their pocket money this week. And I like to buy them things in a way they don't get pocket money, but I buy them things. Or am I just buying them things because I'm scared to say no to them and I think they'll kick off and I don't really want to buy them, but I just want an easy life. It's for you to kind of reflect on.
I think there'll be so many people what'll relate to that though as well, won't they? Especially with older kids.
Absolutely. And it also comes down to when you're saying about them kicking off because they're not getting their own way. And then you've got this now of electrical nannies, we call them, screen time. We just give them the iPads. We take that off them, they kick off. And there is a lot of kind of like people talking about neurological like damage that it's doing to them. What is your thoughts on that with screen time? My little boy loves his PlayStation. He comes off from work, he's on it, and he's always been a little electronic geek and stuff. So me taking it off, and we can have a little bit of a mood swing. And I think a lot of people are now starting to look at this and go, well, should we be taking it off them? Then shouldn't be on it for as long. I don't know, what is your Job? A little.
Oh yeah, he's always
on it. It's just one of them things now, isn't it?
But a lot of the time, like I say, you're saying, sometimes it's because if I'm at work and I'm not there, and say for example, someone else is minding them or whatever, then there's no boundaries. Because the boundary's coming from me. I mean, I could probably say, well, you know, to Andrew's nana maybe when she's there, can you tell him he's only got half an hour? But then I wouldn't put Job's behaviours then, knowing what's going to come from that, onto his nan.
Of course.
I'd be like, just leave him and I'll sort it when I get home. But then... It's my fault.
I think it's hard as well because they do go to that type of kind of like fun thing, shall we say, because we don't live in a society. I'm quite lucky in the summer. I do live on a close, so all the kiddies will play out. So he will go out and play in the summer, but in the winter he will stay in and go to his room and kind of like that'll be his fun. So it is hard because back in the day when I was younger, it didn't matter if it was winter, summer. You were out, you were playing like with balls, you were playing Kirby, you were playing out and stuff, whereas our kids don't do that anymore.
listen, like my son's literally sat over there as well. So screens is a big one with us. And again, it goes down to boundaries, but it is now being shown that, you know, screen use for children over a prolonged period is not the best for the brain development in many different ways, and we still don't really know the full impact of it, because really it's such a new thing. This generation of children are, you know, kind of like the
guinea pigs.
The guinea pigs. So it's a constant battle, because it is such a normalised thing now, kids playing the Roblox and things like that, and you know, it is that easy thing to do, and to actually get the strength to build up to go get them off it, and then like to find something else for them to do, and then there'd be a kick off. But that's again knowing that the impact of the screens, because they are addictive and they do dysregulate them, knowing that, you know, when you are going to get them off them, expect these behaviours and expect that if they're going to sit on the screens. And then I say to my parents, no, find ways that you can then regulate them first. It's a really, really difficult one, and it is such a big thing. But I would say, as much as possible, you know, they're not like the best for the brains, but that is not because it's so hard, because parents are in so many different circumstances and things like that. And you know, you've got to go listen to yourself, like listen to what you feel like is the right thing to do. Only you know, but the research is clear that it's not really the best for the brains. I mean, I wish I would have never given him screens, but me and his dad have quite different ideas of like what's okay and what's not. And that's, you know, that's okay. So we have to balance that out as well. So it's really, really making an informed decision for yourself, based on, it's not the best, but then balancing it within this society that we live in now.
And I think that's what it is, and it's the society, because I drove past someone the other day, and you know, when you just like people watching, and there was this mum walking with a daughter, and they were walking, and you could just see the weight of the world on her. Yeah. And I just felt like some mums, it's like we can't be happy being parents because of the weight of the world. It takes that. Yeah. Whereas realistically, the first thing in life should be just that enjoying of being a parent. We're brought to the earth to be a parent at some points. Yeah. Obviously, some people aren't lucky enough at the moment, just the way the world is as well. But that is normally a woman's duty to come and just be happy parenting. And it's like this world has put so much pressure on mums to not enjoy the process that we're put on earth for. Yeah.
I just want to add a little thing to the screen, because I realised that I didn't mention it about, like, you know, choosing your own thing, but also being like, you know, safe and aware of what they're exposed to as well as a big one. There's different things that, you know, kids can be seeing online now, and that's a really, really big thing, is to keep them safe. That's the number one thing. Before, and obviously the, you know, social media as they're getting older and stuff, and really, really monitoring that, because I've seen in my other work how that can really be bad for like bullying and things like that, and grooming. It really does happen, and there are, you know, people on the internet
being aware of it, that it does happen.
Being aware of it, that it is, you do need to monitor it. That is like, you know, really needs to happen. But back to your other point about, you know, we're missing that like joy in parenting, and that's one of the things I speak about, and like say that this is the reason why I want to do this work is to find that joy in parenting again, because it's like we've normalised parenting just being hard. You know, it's just one of those things, like we just got to get through, and it's like, but it doesn't. Yeah, we are up against a lot in this society, but it's like anything, we can just say, oh yeah, it's hard, and kind of just like succumb to it. Or, well, what are we going to do to adapt to that? How are we going to make this? Because, you know, we have to evolve in many different periods of time. I just think this is a time that now we need to start adapting and looking at what can we do, because the infrastructure of society isn't going to change anytime soon. So what can we do as mothers to make the parenting a little bit more joyful? And that's the work I do. There are ways that you can support yourself, rather than just saying, oh, it's just hard and I've just got to deal with it.
Yeah. No, it is. It's true. And it is. And like, go back to that when you said about being aware of it online. I think a lot of parents are not aware of how dangerous it is online. Yeah. I think what's happened is you have got these predators out there, unfortunately. It existed many years ago. And now it's so much easier for them to groom and be like that kind of looking for children.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, Cody's not having social, it goes on YouTube, but social media for him is a long time off. I just think it is too dangerous out there. But I do see very beautiful little girls online, and I just think, oh my God, they can be preyed on so easily. And we do need to have, I think, something with social media that it's banned for anyone. I'm sure, I think I've read, is it one of Australia that's banning it now? And
they're bringing it in. They do the happy 18 or 16 or something to have social media.
And it needs to be.
I'll tell you who it was. I don't know her real name. Sonia, who used to be in EastEnders.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what I read,
And she was on this morning
Yeah.
saying about it, and something's happened, and she was saying like she really does think it should be a law.
Yeah.
Because she then said, which is dead true, if it's a law that's in place and you say to your kids, you can't have it, it's a law, it's against the law, then they have to understand it more.
Yeah.
Whereas as parents, because there's so many other parents out there with different views on it, for example, our kids, we might say, you're not having it, but then the friends might have it.
Yeah.
Got
So it's like,
TikTok
well,
and
well, such body's got it, and well, I really don't care what they've got or what their parents say.
Yeah.
This is what I believe and what's happening in this house. But if there was a law across the board, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
They just need to box it off, and then it wouldn't be a thing.
And I
it?
fell into that as well. I think I give Cody a phone too young.
Yeah,
He got it
same.
8, 9, whereas there's some kiddies that haven't even got a phone now. And I'm like, should he really have had a phone then?
Yeah.
It's, I was but then again, we do live in a society where they go out with their friends now, and you want to keep them safe. Whereas back when I was a kid, you knew where you was. You were in the woods, you were playing and you were coming home. It wasn't this dangerous world that we're in.
Yeah, I think going back to your point around, well, other kids have got it, and you've got to be that really strong and know this is my boundary. It doesn't matter what other kids are doing, because I always say, it's like, well, if other kids were like sniffing cocaine or drinking, we wouldn't just say, well, just let them do it because your mates are. And it's coming back to that. It's like, no, this is like, I know I've got to keep you safe. You might look like the bad parent, but you are gonna, you know why you're doing it again, and it's hard because you might not be liked. Your child might not like the decision that you're making for them, but you have to keep them safe, and you have to get comfortable with being that in their eyes, the mean mummy, or so remembering that as well,
because it comes back to then your own triggers, isn't it? Because I think that's when I parent Cody, sometimes I just give in to things, so they go, I don't want to feel like I felt. And then it's like it comes back full circle. No, really, Claire, you need to fix your own trigger and then go back in with a different approach. And I suppose that's probably where that parenting coaching comes.
Yeah, it really is, because we can have the information, we can be informed and aware, which also, we still are very much not that informed, like you've just said about like screens and things. And then when the information we are being given, we're being fired at all different angles. We don't know what to listen to, so then that's overwhelming. But then you can have the information, but then being able to actually implement that information and access it in the times you need to, you can't when you're triggered. So that's why my work starts with the foundations, is building that understanding of yourself, your stress response, your triggers, your attachment story, and really grounding you and your self-regulation, so you can show up and not parent and make decisions based on your projections of how, like, I don't want him to feel like this, how I felt, or your fears or stories that you have. You're parenting from like a place of, no, this is what I value, this is what's important, and this is how I want to parent. So it is a process, and that is what coaching's for, to really unpack all that.
Yeah, because the thing is, you aren't taught how to be a parent, are you? You're taught everything else in life, in school, but there's nothing to teach you how to be a parent. And I always remember having him and thinking, well, I know no different, and he knows no different as me as a mummy. We're just winging this together, really. Yeah. When they come into this world, you're just like, well...
Or you get help. I was only young, so I had both nans helping me, like my mum, the girl's nan, and then they had an impact of how they parented to bring to my parenting. Whereas if I'd have been if you're on your own, you've got to just do it yourself. But I did have the outside impacting my parenting as well. Like, you go out, love, you continue in your early 20s and wheel my baby. So I still had like a young life. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, everybody's very different.
Because then it comes to the good cop and the bad cop at home, isn't it? And is this something that we need to probably look at as well? Because you've always got, oh, do you know what? You're going to be bad cop today. I'll be going to be the good cop. And it's...
Yeah, I think
is
I'm
that
definitely
confusing? Do you get what I mean? Is that confusing for a child, or?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think most people, most parents, they usually got two different parenting styles. Like, they're usually on different pages, and as long as you have one parent who is consistently showing up and holding these boundaries and is that consistent attachment figure, that's all a child needs, is just one caregiver that's consistently showing up. So I wouldn't say, I mean, obviously it can be confusing, but I wouldn't say, like, you know, it's detrimental. You've just got to, this is where it goes back to you feeling really like grounded and confident, and this is my parenting decision. I'm not gonna like be wavered by, oh, I don't want to look like the bad guy, I don't want to upset them, like, am I doing the right thing? This is where we unpack, like, understanding why you're making parenting decisions. Am I making this from a place of fear or projection or a trigger, or am I making it from a grounded place that I know that this is what I think is the best for my child, based on what is either going to keep them safe or what value system you want to you know, pass on to them. So that's where a boundary is either about keeping a child safe or what you value and what type of human being you want to shape.
Yeah, and it's everything, isn't it? I always say if they've got manners and values, it's the best thing you can put into any child. It just goes through life, doesn't it? Fully with it all. Well, I love that though.
I know,
So give us 3 tips then that any parent could probably take away today and think, do you know what, I can implement in this in my life and go forwards.
Okay, so like the first one would just be first, check in with yourself. If you are in any type of challenging parenting moment, or you're currently going through something, start with yourself first. Reflect on, how am I showing up in this situation? Do I need to regulate myself first? Do I need to unpack some things and understand, you know, what is it that I'm trying to achieve in this parenting moment? Am I placing a story on my child's behaviour? Am I able to see it as it's communicating something? But that starts with when you're fully regulated. So just look after yourself first. And it sounds so like cliche, like now, oh, we need to look after ourselves, and people, I think, like online, it's the way it's being shared, like self-care. It's like, oh, it's a nice to have, but like, I've not really got time for that. No, it's absolutely imperative. It's not like it's not a luxury. It's essential. You need to look after yourself first. They're saying, put your own oxygen mask on before you put your child's. That kind of analogy is really what it means. So that is the first parenting tip. Second is, if you're, again, in a difficult parent moment, use connection first, and think, is my child regulated? Is my child able to fully understand what I'm asking of them now? Because what we usually go to do is try and reason or logic with our children. Is my child regulated now? How can I help them basically calm down or co-regulate with them? And going back to the regulation again, like the third tip is, when we are like calm and regulated, both you and your child, things are always going to be a lot easier. So it's usually all boiling down to, are you regulated, or are you stressed at the moment? If your child is stressed, they're going to more likely be seeing bigger behaviours and bigger emotions, and also you're going to have less capacity if you're not regulated. So just starting from there, really, to simplify it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Thank you so much.
So Sarah, obviously we'll wrap up there. Where can people find you? Because obviously this is an empowering conversation. I've took a lot away from this, probably Nick has as well, haven't we? So where can people find you?
So Instagram, at Mindful Parent Club.
Perfect.
Parent Club,
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.